Hello and welcome to another one of my videos. In today's video I'm just going to be going through some silver dollars that I've been buying for. I've been calling it the war stack. I probably shouldn't call it that. There are a lot of sensitive things going on throughout the world. Let's call it the what should we call it? The unforeseen event stack. I don't know, but basically I'm aiming to buy $100. I made an offer a while back to someone to buy 100. They kind of scoffed at it, which was nuts considering I offered him more than I've been paying him. I've been paying for these and the spot price has gone up. That is what it is. But I'm currently on about 50. I think I got 53. I said in the prior video I had 55, 56. I was wrong. I went for it. I went, oh, okay. I kind of over-egged that by 60 odd quid, but that is what it is. So for those of you that don't know, I do trade for a living. Most of the stock I get that comes in, it goes straight back out. Now in the past, I've always been like, oh, I'm going to put this to one side. And yes, I've done that. But I've kind of changed how I traded over the last year or so, partly because of my sickness, which I'm happy to say that I'm nearly back to best. And part of it due to there being a spate of robberies up and down the country, and I just thought, nah, ain't going to be me. Or if they do want to turn up, then they're not going to find much, because I've moved it over from, I'd like a little lockup. There's barely anything in that these days, but I moved the bulk of it over to the bank vault. But this stuff here, once I get to 100, I'm considering just burying it. It is technically stock on the business. However, it's stock that I don't need. I have considered kind of pinging off the less desirable ones, such as, I'll see if I can find one. That's kind of nice. Something like this, you know, it's being cleaned. I don't have a problem with cleaned per se. It's just a case of I prefer them to be cleaner. There's only about 4 or 5 of them. Like this, I could probably sell. I'd probably do it spot plus £2 plus post. You know, not a problem. It's not actively on the block, but it's something that I can do should I need to raise a few hundred quid here and there, which these days is not a lot of money. And I don't mean that in a flippant way, but when you're dealing in orders of 5 grand, 10 grand, 20k, you know, a couple hundred quid here or there it's something that doesn't touch the sides, unfortunately. Even the accountant, it's like £200 these days. I guess I could ping off 10 to pay the accountant. But there's some of you who may be asking, well, why don't you stack in, say, pre 47? And it's not a strategic thing. I haven't thought, oh, you know what, it'll get more views if I get some silver dollars in, because I know there's a lot of American stackers, preppers, survivalists, investors. It's just personal preference. When I was growing up and I got into coins, my mother had one of these, and I've been fascinated by American coinage ever since. I don't know why that is. I'm not the most knowledgeable on American coinage. I'm more of a bulk buyer in terms of what I get in, but I just think they make good looking coins. As for pre-47, sorry, I don't like the fact that it's 50%, and I don't like the premium that crowns attract if you go pre-20. So this makes sense in terms of let's call it a junk play or a non-premium play. Now you're going to pay a premium for these. That's not a problem. I paid a premium for these when I bought them in, but the premium is not all that. You get a nice one, you're going to pay a fair amount for it, but as a whole, I find it's not pre-33. I find American coinage in terms of silver a lot better in terms of stacking it. Now you could say, well, why don't you stack 1 ounce Britannias, or why don't you stack Phillies or Eagles or Maples or Kangaroos? Cool, I've turned into a woke channel. I'm name dropping everyone. Don't want to offend anyone. I think for me, I like something that is coinage. So if you're going to go down the route of stacking something, I like things that were coins, that there's a bit of history. You can just imagine someone walking down the street with one of these in Victorian era, You just think, oh, that's kind of cool, isn't it? That's a cool thing. Whereas the modern bullion is great. It does what it says on the tin, fantastic. But there's no history behind it, and you're stacking it purely for weight. Whereas these, I just like to imagine that I'd be a rich person back 150 years ago. Does that make me a sad individual? Maybe, potentially. I'm not going to argue with anyone. There might be some people in the comment section like, you weirdo. Like, just stack silver like a normal person, do 999. But each to their own. So yeah, that's why I've been stacking these. I will be planning to add. I've kind of bought more than I need, but if they come in for the right price, fine. I don't have a problem paying it. I can always ping off a couple if need be. Now, is there any special dates or anything like that? Probably not. I'm not going to go for the lot. When I say they're bullion, I mean they genuinely are pretty bullion. Now, in terms of the gold and silver price, it's on an absolute charge at the moment, and it's been coming. I've been saying for absolutely years. There was a gentleman who left me a message. I said on a channel a while back, I was like, let's see how savvy I am. And he was like, well, you're not that savvy because, people have been talking about this for years. And I thought, but you've been a subscriber on my channel for like 3 years. I've been talking about this for the last, 4, 5, 6 years. Gold and silver's going up and down in upward motion over time. It's that simple. I don't put out many videos with the gold price and the silver price saying, look where it is and look where it can go, because it's boring. I know where it should be. Silver has massively underperformed, and it's finally getting a leg up. Let's see if it holds. It should do. Like, from a logical, rational perspective, it should do. Let's see. I know in the past that it's got the leg up and then it's just dropped down, and you're just scratching your head a little. But I think with the current prices, I think it's fair when you compare it to gold. But I don't play the ratio, by the way. I had a client message me the other day about the ratio, and I just said I don't play the ratio. I think it's a tool that's probably useful in the States, but there's a lot of lag cost in the UK due to VAT. The premiums get distorted and the ratio gets distorted. Now, you could probably do apples for apples and say, you know what, let's have our own ratio and we factor in the VAT rate. But also that doesn't take into account the individual premiums set per coin, such as Britannias and, for example, Phillies, because I like Phillies. They're going to have different premiums. So how do you set a ratio for all of them? I like to meet the man who's smart enough to do it, because the market's so fluid. I don't think it's possible. I don't think you could do it. And I know there's people who are very skilled at technical analysis. They probably could piece it together, but from my experience as a trader, the premiums fluctuate over time. I don't think you could plot it over a long enough period of time for it to be relevant to you. So if you could plot it and you've got the cycles and then the individual cycles within that cycle, that's complex. But also, that doesn't matter if the cycles within the cycles spread out over 15, 20, 30 years. Because being right and being able to hold your position long enough to cash in, you might as well invest it elsewhere. That's the brutal reality of it. A lot of people think that as a coin dealer that I'm a gold silver nut. And the truth is, I love coins. I do. I make more money on the postage side of my business by far, but I always come back to the coins because I like dealing with them. But the truth is, I like to invest in all things. I've got investments in shares. I've got investments in gold and silver. I've got some bonds, although they're probably a bad buy at the moment. It's not a problem for me. I've got investments in Pokemon cards, which is not my best investment. I've got a tiny amount of crypto. I've been eyeing up or potentially eyeing up an investment in another company, a private company. So personally, I think when you're looking to kind of capitalize on the ratio, I think in the UK it's too complex to do it. And the time span, if you could do it, would be so extreme that you might as well invest elsewhere. Now, you could say, well, that you can't solve the counterparty risk. And it's just like, but it gets to the point where you own too much, where the counterparty risk is you're going to get robbed the risk. So you don't really solve it. It's problematic. I think loose lips sink ships. Now, as a dealer, I can't really get away from that. It's my bread and butter, so I've got to put things in place so people are deterred from robbing me. Like, I have a samurai sword. I love to meet the guy who sees my sword. You know, I pray that I never have to use it, but it's a deterrent. You know, I have insurance. I've got a bank vault. They're deterrents. You know, I don't carry stock. It's a deterrent. But I think when you own stuff and you own and own and own and own, all it takes is for one person to think, hang on, I want that more than you, and the counterparty risk argument falls to pieces, and it really does. So yeah, that's my silver, why I'm stacking it, why the ratio doesn't really work, why just I think I've covered a lot of bases there, why I invest in other things. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you like these coins. If you don't, then it's okay. Like, there's something for everyone. Horses for courses. Take care, guys. Bye.